Let's have a quick conversation about cycle counts. So if you're thinking about inventory management or inventory optimization in general, you got to really pay a lot of attention, if you will, to cycle counts. So here are the general trends I want you to really pay attention to. So in today's conversation, I want to give you a simple guide to cycle counts, and I want to share with you also best practices and also the benefits. So if you are considering cycle counts for your retail store, you want to learn how this product counting method can save you time and improve inventory accuracy. Okay. Now, there are a lot of ways to account inventory, don't get me wrong, but the right way for your retail business will depend on a number of factors. It's one of those things where you got to really see also the geography where you are at to actually determine the inventory counting method. So, one popular method that's less disruptive to everyday operations is cycle counts. So cycle counts are a vital part of inventory management for preventing stockouts and thefts and maintaining low inventory holding costs. So let me go back and explain to you real fast what a cycle count really is. So inventory cycle counts involve counting a small group of products at a specific time without having to disrupt business operations. And cycle counts are a process retailers use to count specific groups of products on a regular basis to increase inventory accuracy and uncover and solve discrepancies in less time than a full physical inventory count. See, the whole thing is you do not want to spend a whole day or a whole month trying to count inventory. No, you want to count actually partial inventory on a regular basis. So by doing frequent cycle counts, you can identify the causes of inventory errors and make a plan to resolve them. And over time, the good thing is you will have counted all your stock without disrupting your retail store operations. Now, you have to really think about physical counting versus cycle counting. Now, physical counting involves counting all your inventory at once, a few times a year. Cycle counting involves counting a small amount of inventory in phases on a regular basis, sometimes daily. I mean, really, sometimes daily. Okay, it's all about what works for your operations. And physical inventory counts are more disruptive, making it a better choice if you have fewer products and can count all your stock without closing your store for the day. But it's also not as accurate as cycle counts because you're not auditing inventory on a regular basis. So, what are the types of cycle counting this year? Let's talk about that. You have ABC cycle counting, okay? You have random sample counting, and you also have control group cycle counting. So this is pretty good, especially from a scalability point of view. So what's the strategy here? How do you do a cycle count this year? The first thing you want to do here is to review inventory records. Everything starts from there. I mean, the records, I mean, the purchase orders, invoices, bills. You want to go back to your balance sheet, okay? So basically, you want to make sure that inventory quantities in your POS system are up to date and any outstanding discrepancies are reconciled. POS, point of sale, okay? And this can be your inventory records. So what you want to do here is that you want to set accuracy level targets. It's one of those things where when you actually review inventory records without having the proper level targets, you are doing something wrong. So after reviewing those inventory records, you want to set accuracy level targets. Do you want to go for 100%? You want to go for 95%? You want to go for 75%? You want to go for 50%? What's actually decent for your operation? Okay. So you want to aim for 100% inventory accuracy, but that's not always possible. Let's face it. Okay. Generally, 90% accuracy or higher is a good goal. Because see, here we are aiming for something decent. We are aiming for something reasonable. So to determine inventory record accuracy, IRA, you want to use the inventory cycle count accuracy formula. I'm going to put this on the screen so you have a clear idea what I'm speaking about. So what's the formula here? I want you to look right now on the screen so you can see the formula here. So what are we talking about here? We are speaking about IRA equals 1 minus the sum of the discrepancy divided by the sum of the total inventory times 100. Let me give you an example. So if your inventory management system, or your POS for that matter, is showing you that you have 150 units of a particular product and you count 148, there is a 2 unit discrepancy and your IRA will be 98.7. So here is the math. I'm going to put this on the screen again. So 98.7% equal 1 minus 2 divided by 150 multiplied by 100. Okay. And you want to use this KPI to set, track, and improve your inventory accuracy levels. The next thing you want to do here is to start count. Okay. Whether it's you or a dedicated counter, you want to review the inventory descriptions, locations, and quantities from your records or inventory report, and then compare them to what's physically on your sales floor and in your stock room and or warehouse. So what are the counting tips here? I want to really give you a few counting tips so you have a clear idea how to really get things done properly and accurately. You want to close out all transactions before accounting. See, the thing is that when you have open transactions, you might have disruptions and you might have inaccuracies either directly or indirectly. So you want to close out all transactions before accounting. You want to actually account categories one by one to increase efficiency and avoid errors. You want to vary your accounting schedule to prevent employees from manipulating the system. Because see, unfortunately, you want to have honest employees, and I want you to have honest employees too. But hey, listen, we are all humans, and sometimes you might have a few a few bad apples, so to speak, in your basket. It is what it is. So you want to really vary your accounting schedule to prevent employees from manipulating the system. You want to consider the seasonality of categories, so you are counting products when they are in demand and you can fix discrepancies quickly. And you want to do cycle counts frequently and always double check them. You also want to reconcile differences. So pinpoint the inventory differences found during cycle counts and reconcile them in your system and with your staff, the staff that manages inventory, not just all kinds of staff. It has to be the staff that manages inventory. So you want to recognize if there are patterns in inventory discrepancies, especially from a scalability point of view. You want to really look at things over 1 month, over 3 months, over 6 months, over 1 year to see if there are any patterns, any trends. You want to implement necessary procedures. So if the same issues, let's say, keep coming up regularly, you may need to set up new inventory counting processes or fix the holes in your approach. And if it's not your cycle counting procedures, that's really at fault. What else can you fix? You have to go back to your inventory, to your supply chain process, and see what's really causing the problem there. So, are you losing inventory due to shopper or employee theft? If so, you could hire more security personnel or install surveillance cameras to actually mitigate those issues. And you want to do this again. You want to do these things from a scalability point of view. It has to be scalable. It has to be long term. Also, if you want to really think about cycle counts, you want to adjust inventory records. Why? Because again, you want the records to be accurate. You want your balance sheet to show accurate numbers. Okay, and so once you have completed cycle counts, include a step in your process to update your inventory management system to reflect your physical inventory. There has to be a strong correlation, a one-on-one correlation between your physical count and your financial records. Okay, and this is not just for you. Also, this is from a compliance point of view, and also especially when I speak about compliance, I'm speaking about compliance with the U.S. GAAP. So United States generally accepted accounting principles, or if you are overseas, I'm speaking here about IFRS. So International Financial Reporting Standards. So those are accounting standards that are commonly agreed upon, and you want to comply with those rules. You want to calculate inventory accuracy levels. So use the formula that I gave you a little earlier to calculate your inventory accuracy levels. Okay, and if it's coming up below 90% most of the time, you want to implement strategies to actually improve accuracy. You do not want to have an accuracy level that's like 80%, or 75%. Okay. And you want to repeat the cycle. So repeat the cycle counting process on a regular basis. So depending on your business, you may choose to do it daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly. However, cycle counts are generally more accurate the more often you do them, right? It's one of those things where you want to really bake them. You want to bake those procedures into your processes. So when you use different platforms to run your online and retail stores, inventory discrepancies are more likely to happen. This can lead to a more frequent inventory counts to reconcile differences and ensure stock levels are accurate. So you want to have the same tool to actually do both. Okay, you want to have the same tool to run your online store as well as your retail store. Let me give you the best practices here. What are the cycle counts best practices? The first thing you want to do is it's important to understand that whichever cycle count type you choose, if you remember, I gave you three of them, right? ABC cycle counting, random sample cycle counting, and also a control group cycle counting. If you have questions about those, please let me know, and we'll certainly get back to you. We'll certainly explain how you can really have a cycle count process that applies to your specific retail business. So, whichever cycle count tab you choose, you need to make sure it really aligns with the key inventory management that you want to go after. So, that's why it's always a good idea to follow a couple of best practices to get the most accurate results. One thing for sure, you want to decide what to count in advance. Right off the bat, you want to decide what to count. You may want to count some products weekly, others quarterly, and the majority once per year, or you might count random samples monthly. Whatever you choose, decide in advance. Don't really do things randomly. And you want to count everything, okay? Don't try to really pick and choose here. No, count everything. Unless you are using the constant population counting method, you need to make sure you count everything in your inventory within a set time. You want to finalize transactions before accounting. I think I've said this before, but I want to insist on that. If you don't finalize transactions before accounting, your account could change by the time you get to the end, right? You want to use the inventory cycle count accuracy formula. So this shows inventory changes over time. That's really important from a credibility point of view. You want to choose a staff wisely. Make sure they can count quickly and accurately. And you want to use zero counts. So if your system, let's say your system says there is no stock after an item has been picked, you need to physically confirm for accuracy. This is called a zero count. You want to investigate. Investigation should be part of your due diligence process. So if there are errors or inconsistencies, you want to find out why this can happen. I mean, if this is happening at one location or at multiple locations, you want to really dig a little deeper, and you want to keep track. Make notes on everything, so you can really see if there are any patterns. You can see what works and also what doesn't. So let me talk to you about the benefits of cycle counting here. Again, when you think about cycle counting, think about ABC cycle counting, think about random sample cycle counting, think about control group cycle counting. So what are the benefits here? There are several benefits, but there are three main benefits I want you to really focus on this year. So when you have inventory cycle counting, you are able to identify inventory discrepancies. You can make inventory counting more manageable, and you can also have more accurate data, more accurate inventory data. Let's first talk about identifying inventory discrepancies. So the thing that happens here is that regularly counting batches of stock will help you pinpoint errors in your inventory counts and resolve them faster than only doing physical counts once or twice a year. See, the whole thing is it's one of those things where repetition is really a lot easier than once in a while. Like if you do something twice a year versus 12 times a year, you have a greater ability to get things done faster. And that's kind of cool also for your staff as well, okay? For your financial staff, but also for your inventory staff. So, what about making inventory counting more manageable? Well, counting smaller amounts of inventory more frequently makes the counting process easier and less time consuming and doesn't actually disturb your retail operations. That's really cool because you have a lot of possibilities that are happening there. And when you have a more manageable process, you are able to maintain inventory accuracy without having to close your doors and miss out on potential sales. You also have more accuracy on when it comes to inventory data. So routine counts lead to more accurate numbers and also the ability to quickly identify theft or other issues causing discrepancies in your inventory. So more accurate inventory data can help prevent you from over or under buying stock. So this is kind of cool from a scalability point of view. This is really fantastic. So you also might want to try implementing RFID technology to increase the accuracy of your inventory data and reduce cycle count time. Okay, that's important. So now, when you think about cycle count, of course, you have a lot of benefits, but sometimes you also have some drawbacks. I mean, there are some challenges operationally, but also logistically that could really hamper your ability to do a cycle count. Okay. So, however, you check your inventory, whether it's the traditional periodic count or cycle counts, you will encounter challenges. So, here are a few of the most common ones. So, you may have operational disruptions, inaccurate counts, and multiple locations. So when I speak about operational disruptions, a cycle count can cause interruptions in the day-to-day operations of your retail store, as it's usually performed within business hours. But those disruptions are minimal, and you don't have to close for a whole day like you sometimes do with traditional counts. You may have inaccurate counts. So if any corners are cut or a process is not followed properly, for example, if transactions are not closed out, cycle counts can be inaccurate. So following the best practices that I gave you a little earlier will actually make the whole process a lot less likely to happen. Okay, the inaccuracy in counts. You also might have multiple locations. So if you have multiple locations, you need to know the count for each location and all the locations combined. That takes extra coordination and planning. Okay. So that's important to really pay attention to. But long story short, you have a lot more positivity that come from a cycle count than negativity, really. Okay. Now, there is a difference between physical inventory and cycle counting. I think I've said this before, but I want to really insist on that. Physical inventory is a complete count of all the items in a warehouse or store in order to actually determine the exact quantity of inventory on hand. Cycle counting is a method of inventory control that involves counting a small number of items from the inventory on a regular basis. So cycle counting allows for more frequent and accurate inventory updates and can be used also to detect discrepancies in the inventory counts. And you can do this on a more regular basis. So here's a quote on today's conversation. I gave you an in-depth guide to cycle counts. I gave you the general trends, the strategy, the best practices, and now the quota. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.